This video is going to be kind of a part of a series within a series for the Bug Out Bronco project. We're going to take a look at replacing the spindle bearings on this Dana 44 front end on the 1988 Ford Bronco. Coming up on Survival on Purpose. Welcome back to Survival on Purpose. My name is Brian. Thanks for joining me. So I had a big noise coming out of the front end of the 88 Bronco here, and I thought it was the wheel bearings. As it turned out, the wheel bearings were shot, but I decided to explore a little bit further since I had it apart, and it turns out the spindle bearings were not in great shape either. So we had to go ahead and replace them. I kind of split this video out of the others. So it's all, I videoed it all at one time and then kind of tried to split it up and make a different video out of it. So hopefully it will be sort of coherent. Anyway, without a bunch of further rambling, let's take a look at the spindle bearing replacement on the 1988 Ford Bronco. Okay, we got both the bearings out and the races, but before I replace these, there's actually another set of bearings inside here called the spindle bearings that I'm going to try to replace too. So I'm going to try to take this thing down one more layer and see if we can figure that one out. Okay, so what we got here now, we got the rotor pretty much off, hub, whatever you want to call it, and we're going to try to access the spindle bearing, which is inside the spindle here, in order to replace that. So let's get to it. First thing we got to do is take these bolts off here. According to the Haynes manual, that's the first thing we have to do. Maybe hit this with a little bit of that there good old carburetor cleaner, brake cleaner. So we can see what we're doing here. Now we can take the spindle nuts off, and there's going to be 6 of those. We're just going to start taking them off. And maybe we're going to get a bigger wrench. Yep, that's what we're going to do. All right, so we got a little larger tool here, half inch, and we're just going to loosen these up one at a time. So get. All right, now we got her loosening up, so just take them off. Okay, so these are 9/16 nuts. 6 of them on the holding the spindle on, and it says carefully remove the spindle. Don't you love it when a repair manual says carefully remove something, but it doesn't tell you how? Well, I'm not really sure how you do that, so what I'm going to do is knock it a couple times with a hammer, see if I can get a screwdriver maybe tapped in between there or something. It's got so much old crud on it. I think there's a seam opening up there though. Let's see. Okay, so I got the screwdriver in on the right side. Probably not the best tool for doing this, but it's what I have. Yeah, she's finally broken free there, I believe. I'm sure there's a much better tool to use for this than what I have, but okay. Now we're going to pull the spindle off carefully. Hopefully nothing falls apart in here. And inside there, you can see maybe the spindle bearing. So there's your knuckle, right? And that's got the U-joint behind it, which seems to be making no noise. Okay, so here's the U-joint here, and the spindle's moving the spindle around pretty good here, and there's no noise. Feels pretty smooth, so I think the U-joint is okay. And you seal back here, I guess, for the spindle. But the spindle itself, the spindle bearing itself rather, you can look inside here and see that it's got a couple little gaps in it right there, if you can see that. It just doesn't look really good, so I got to figure out how to get this thing out. Okay, so we're back down here at the spindle area. The thing I want to try to do before we get this totally repaired is go ahead and pull the shaft out here and take a look at this U-joint. Make sure there's no grease fittings on it, but it doesn't appear to have any really play in it. Feels pretty good. So you can see the end of this thing has got some splines on it. So we'll go ahead and just work them back into the gearbox up there. And it should go right on the end. I might have to twist it a little bit, get it to engage, but it's engaged now, so it's all good. The other thing is, this seal here is, I got a new one, so it's going to be replaced. So, the first step is going to be to, let's talk about what all I bought. For the spindle bearings, I've got a new inner seal, like so, that we just took out. It's going to go on just like, just like so. Put you back out of the way for a minute. Alright, it's going to go back on just like so, and that just keeps the grease where it belongs once you get this thing greased. So let's good. Okay, so there's that. Also bought a new bearing, which goes right inside here. Here's the bearing, goes in here like so, and then we got another small seal that goes on the outboard side of the bearing. Now, the so this bearing, this is just a needle bearing. You see, it's got the little rollers in there. The old ones were actually, they fell out, so they were pretty much shot. The pieces fell completely out. So we're going to replace this. The trick is going to be to get this in. So that's going to be the next step. Okay, the next step in the process is to pack the spindle bearing with high temperature grease, and it says to pack the spindle bore. So first thing I'm going to do is go ahead and get nice and greasy. This is the way I always taught to pack bearings. You just put them in your hand like so, grease in your hand like so, and just start scooping that bearing around until it gets full of grease. And yes, it is a little messy, but they make these bearing packer things, but you know, I've never used them, to be honest with you. You just take your grease, get a glob of grease in your hand, and just start going around, scooping it in there until it gets full. And this particular, these are a little harder to do because they're kind of like roller bearings, so you just kind of get all nasty with it. Okay, so I've got about as much grease as I can get crammed on there. Now, here's the tricky part. I'm going to drive this thing in here. I don't want to mess up the threads on the other end, so we'll put it on a piece of cardboard. Put this thing up here, kind of here, such, and you want to drive it in nice and even. And I don't really have a special tool to do that, so what I'm going to use is this socket here, because it's nice and flat on top. I'm going to see if I can go ahead and get it kind of started. In there. Once we got it going down in, I'm going to take my little extension here and just tap it on the rest of the way. Now I pretty much got it down flat. Now it's the tricky part. I got to get it down seated the rest of the way, and it's just so you just want to make sure that it's even and pretty close to even right there. I think the next thing to do is take this little seal. Could be just enough room for the seal to go in. It should be fine. I'm going to tap it in like so. There we go. Next step is going to be pack a bunch of grease in here, and then we'll slide it on. So we'll go ahead and do that side. So let's just put some bunch of grease in there. Okay, so once got it all greased up, next step is to put the spindle back onto the shaft here, and just go ahead and make sure everything's seated well. Get it in there, good like that. So then we got the nuts go back on. Put a little bit of grease on the studs here just to make them go on a little quicker and easier. They were pretty dirty. And got 6 of these to go on here. This is a 9/16. Okay, so once you get them kind of hand tight, sort of tight, you want to torque them to 35 to 40 foot-pounds. We're going to go ahead and kind of snug everything up first. Okay, so let's go take the old torque wrench and go to 35 to 40 and see what we get. I'm gonna go around till it clicks. All right, kind of skip one. There we go. Okay, so that's how you replace the spindle bearings on 1988 Ford Bronco. Next step, obviously, is going to be to put the rotor / hub back on and all the associated wheel bearings. All right, well that was the spindle bearing portion of this little mini series on the Bug Out Bronco project. And as you saw, the spindle bearings were inside beyond, deeper than the wheel bearings. So once I had it apart that far, I thought we might as well check them out. And it's a good thing I did, because they did need replacing. The hardest part, again, getting those out, was having to remove them. I actually took it to an AutoZone and borrowed their, they had a pilot bearing puller and a slide hammer, and we just banged them out, and you had to pull them out. So you really got to have that special tool to do that, or there's just really no way to get anything in there and drive them out. But we got it done, changed out, and hopefully that'll add many years of good service to the front end of this 1988 Ford Bronco. So I hope this has been helpful, interesting, and you haven't laughed at me too much. Be sure and check out the videos coming up in this series. I'll tell you what, we've got some stuff from High Lift Jacks, a couple of different things from them. We've got some communications gear, we've got some more repairs, and I've got some, hopefully some stuff you'll like. So as we turn this 1988 Ford Bronco into a capable bug out / off-road vehicle. So anyway, as always, thanks for watching Survival on Purpose. Thanks for subscribing. Thanks for clicking that thumbs up, for sharing this video with all your friends, for watching all those ads. And thank you so much for doing your Amazon shopping through the Survival on Purpose links. I really appreciate the support. Once again, my name's Brian. You're watching Survival on Purpose. Remember, survival's not an accident, so be prepared. I'm gonna need a fatter screwdriver. Okay, I'm back from multiple trips to multiple parts stores. Good old brake cleaner, man. It is the bomb.